In this video, I'll be reviewing the Hurom H320N slow juicer. In the world of juicers, there are many options out there. In fact, a year ago, I did a review of the Kuvings Revo 830 juicer, and it was my first real experience using a cold press juicer. It really opened up my eyes to getting the most out of the juicing process. I wasn't really aware of this other company called Hurom until they reached out to me and asked if I could test their H320N slow juicer. I first did some research on the Hurom company and found that they are one of the pioneers of cold press juicing, with over 40 years of developing products. In fact, they innovated the world's first slow juicer and slow squeeze technology back in 2005. So I decided to check out this juicer and see what all the hype is about. Let's jump right into the unboxing. The box itself is pretty simple, with a sleek picture of the H320N juicer on each side. We can see it is made in Korea, which I think most juicers nowadays are made in Korea. Opening up the box, we have a small packet of papers, which includes the hidden tag instructions guide. I'll go through this hidden tag procedure later in the video. There's also a quick start guide that includes the parts list and assembly instructions, which gives you a visual on how the machine is assembled. It also includes the warranty information as well. There's also the owner's manual, which includes more detailed information on using and cleaning the machine, as well as troubleshooting steps if you have any issues. Hurom also includes a recipe book with a few vegetable and fruit juice recipes, which is great. So now we have the base of the juicer, and I gotta be honest, I'm really liking this matte black color. It's a simple design with the power switch in the front and the Hurom logo along the bottom in a chrome finish. On the bottom of the base, there's rubber feet to keep the machine from sliding around, and what looks like a vent fan for the heavy-duty motor inside. On the back, we do have this hidden tag as well as the power plug connector. This juicer uses a 3-prong grounded plug for the US models. The motor spin itself is made of a metal material and looks very durable. It does have a silicone seal along the bottom of the motor spin just in case juice drips into this area. The on-off switch has a great tactile feel to it. Pressing it on will leave the switch in place and have the machine running. Switching it back down will turn the machine off. Press down again and hold it to put the machine in reverse, which helps to clear out any jammed vegetables. Next, we have the hopper and chamber assemblies. These are two separate pieces which we'll look at individually. The top section is the hopper, which is where you can load all the fruits or vegetables that you will be juicing. This bottom section is called the chamber, and this houses the strainer and squeezing screw, as well as the spout for the juice and pulp exits. Both the hopper and chamber assemblies have handles that allow you to easily separate the two sections. Inside the chamber assembly, you'll find the squeezing screw. This is what crushes the vegetables and fruit and also extracts every ounce of juice it possibly can. It appears to be constructed of a durable plastic type material. We also have the fine strainer with the spinning brush. The fine strainer is what you'd probably use the most, and it outputs juice with less pulp in it. This spinning brush is what sweeps the juice to the juice spout. Most of this spinning brush is made of plastic with a little bit of silicone. On one side of the chamber is the juice spout, which is labeled with a water drop type of emblem. This spout can be closed and opened as needed during operation. On the other side, we have the pulp exit, and it has this cool feature in that there's a silicone stopper on the bottom. This is a brilliant idea on Hurom's part because it prevents juice from accidentally going out the pulp exit. I can't tell you how many times my Kuvings Revo 830 had juice exiting out of the pulp spout. I'm glad Hurom took this into consideration and made this intuitive design feature to prevent losing juice. Also included in the box is the pusher tool, which allows you to push vegetables down into the hopper. There's also this cool little brush which will come in handy during cleaning. Next we have the juice cup, which can hold 35 ounces of juice. We also have the Pulp cup, which is fairly large. One thing to note is that most of these components are all BPA-free plastic, which is always a good thing. Finally, we have the coarse strainer, which is great for making smoothie type juices where you'd have more pulp in the juice contents. Now let's take a little bit more detailed look on how to put this juicer together and putting it into use. So first, you would put the chamber assembly onto the base motor. And you can see there's really only one way to put this on, with the handle facing to the left. Again, a nice design feature by Hurom. Next, we'll add the strainer and spinning brush into the chamber. You'll notice there's this one large notch on one side of the spinning brush. This lines up with the groove on the chamber. Once lined up, it will just fit into place. Now we'll add the squeezing screw. Place this screw in the middle of the chamber and push down to click it into place. Finally, add the top hopper unit. To make things easier, Hurom has put these locked and unlocked emblems on the bottom of the chamber unit. This makes it simple to connect the hopper unit to the chamber unit. Basically, line up this notch on the hopper unit to the unlocked emblem and then turn the hopper to lock it into place like this. Hurom does have a safety mechanism in that if the hopper and chamber sections are not properly locked, the machine will not run. Okay, now that we have the units assembled, let's make some juice. The first juice is one of my favorite types. It's carrots with apple, celery, and cucumber. I did peel the carrots and cucumbers and then cut everything into sections. It just makes it easier to load everything into the machine. Just make sure you don't go past this line in the hopper like I did. It's the max fill size, and filling beyond it will prevent the hopper lid from closing properly. If the lid of the hopper is not fully closed, the machine will not operate, as it is also a safety feature to make sure people are not sticking their hands in the machine while the juicer is running. Once everything is loaded up, flip the power switch to the on position and the machine will start crushing and extracting the juice. This Hurom juicer is definitely more quiet than the Kuvings juicer that I have, which is a nice surprise. Flip the juice spout stopper open and let the juice flow into the juice cup. The pulp coming out of the other side looks good, and it looks like most, if not all, the juice has been pulled from the pulp. Here's a look at how the inside of the juicing chamber looks. You can see there's a small rotating arm that sweeps all of the vegetables and fruit in the hopper down into the crushing chamber. This is an interesting design, and it is why these types of juicers are called automatic, in that you really don't have to do much after adding the vegetables and fruit into this hopper. It does all the work for you beyond that. Here's a view of how the machine handles chunks of fruit or veggies that may be left behind. Here you can see there's a chunk of apple that has not moved down into the grinding chamber. The sweeping arms in the hopper are not able to catch it. Well, flipping the power switch to reverse allowed the apple piece to be worked back up into the hopper. And then after flipping the power switch to the on position, the machine was finally able to get that leftover chunk of apple. Now let's take the juicer apart and see how much pulp is left over. One big difference between this juicer and the Kuvings is that you can just take both the top section and bottom section off without any issue. The bottom of the grinding chamber actually stays dry and clean during the juicing process. Removing the top hopper off of the bottom chamber is pretty easy, with really not much effort to remove. Removing the squeezing screw is also very easy, and not much pulp builds up underneath the screw. This was one of my pet peeves with the Kuvings juicer, in that it would be very difficult to remove the screw and there would be tons of pulp built up underneath it. This is not an issue with the Hurom juicer. The strainer does have some pulp around the bottom section, and I think this is probably unavoidable unless you add water through the juicer at the end of the juicing, or just pour the juice back through to catch any leftover pulp. Along the bottom of the chamber, we do have pulp left over, especially the fibers of the celery stalks. Again, a great feature of this juicer is that it has the detachable pulp spout, which really helps to get any leftover pulp out of the juicer. As mentioned, the amount of leftover pulp would be reduced if you ran the juice back through the juicer, or if you run water through the juicer at the end of juicing. Now, let's talk about cleaning this juicer. A lot of these companies throw around the phrase easy cleaning, because I think the cleanup is the part that people really hate. With this juicer, I would say it's just about the same as any other slow cold press juicers. There are multiple pieces of this juicer that gets touched in the juicing process, and you'll want to make sure you properly clean the components to prevent staining or damage in the future. The top hopper unit is easy to clean as it doesn't collect much pulp or residue. A simple rinse and scrub with soap gets it looking like new with ease. The squeezing screw is about the same in that a rinse and scrub with soap gets it cleaned. The next part is what will take you the longest to clean, and it's the strainer plus spinning brush. This is about the same as most of these juicers because the pulp can build up along the inside, and if you don't clean it out properly, that leftover pulp could dry and eventually cause staining, or even worse, cause problems with extracting the juice in the future. There's no escaping the elbow grease that goes into cleaning these strainers. I've found that removing the pulp by rinsing and then using the brush to get anything that's stuck, as well as just scrubbing with some soap, is the best way to get this clean. The bottom part is always notorious for collecting small bits of pulp in between the strainer holes. The same thing happens in my Kuvings Revo juicer as well. The juicing chamber is pretty easy to clean in that a quick rinse gets most of the juice pulp out. The detachable section of the spout makes it so much easier to clean. Again, just a light scrub with some soap to remove the residue is all that's needed for this chamber. Finally, we have the juice cup and pulp cup. These are pretty easy with just a rinse and scrub with soap. I'd say this Hurom juicer is maybe slightly easier to clean than my Kuvings juicer. Most of the components are easy to rinse and therefore requires less work to get clean. As mentioned, there's no way to make cleaning the strainer easier. That's always going to be a pain. Finally, I'll make another juice using leafy vegetables so that you can see how well this juicer handles these leafy greens. The juice I'll be making is called the Popeye juice, and it's straight out of the recipe book provided by Hurom. It consists of spinach with apple and celery, and it's really good for healthy skin and fights anemia since it is rich in folic acid and iron. Same as before, I'll core the apples and cut the celery into pieces. I'm using baby spinach, so not much prep is needed for those other than washing thoroughly. I'll load the hopper with just the spinach first so that you can get an idea of how the machine handles leafy greens. Here's an inside view of the machine working through the spinach. I'll say I was impressed because I've always found these juicers need some sort of counterweight to push the leafy greens down into the grinder. The Hurom didn't need much help as the sweeping arm was able to grab most of the spinach. There was some left over, but all things considered, the juicer did pretty good. I added the remaining spinach as well as the celery and apples, and the juicer churned through those just fine. Here's the juice output. You can see there is a bit of foam at the top, but that's because of the spinach, which typically causes foam regardless of which juicer you use. Finally, let's go back to the hidden tag feature that I mentioned earlier in the video. All it is basically is a way to check and see if your Hurom juicer is original and genuine. To be honest, I think it's something that most people won't even use. But here's a step-by-step on how to use it. First, you'll notice a small tag on the back of your juicer. You'll need to download the hidden tag for Hurom app on your phone. Once downloaded, start it up and let it get access to your camera as well as your location, and then scan that tag on the back of the juicer. It will then let you know if the juicer is genuine. Like I said, I'm not sure if this is something that people would even pay attention to. Another thing to keep in mind is the size of this juicer. It measures roughly 18 inches when fully assembled, and it doesn't slide underneath my kitchen cabinets. I had the same issue with my Kuvings Revo juicer as well, which actually the Kuvings Revo is slightly taller than this Hurom juicer. It's not really a big deal for me because I just simply take it apart and it stores neatly underneath the cabinets. All in all, I feel the Hurom H320N juicer is definitely a solid juicer with some great features, and if you're in the market for a juicer like this, I would certainly recommend this juicer. The only thing I would say is a dislike for me would be the hopper top. It can get a little annoying because of the way the button is laid out. I've found myself fumbling over how to open this top on many occasions. Other than that, I can't really find any other negatives for this juicer just yet. I may do a follow-up video later on if I do find any faults or annoyances with this machine, but so far this machine is doing very well. If you're interested in buying one of these juicers, I have a discount code in the description of this video that will get you 10% off the price. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions or comments, please do feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Please consider subscribing as it does help out the channel, and we'll be adding more reviews in the near future. Thanks for watching.